Forget gold and silver. Buy this now. So as a gold and silver bug, if I'm saying to forget gold and silver and to buy this now, it must be a pretty stark warning. So what am I talking about?
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well.
About 15% of the world's calories come from wheat. About a third of that wheat comes from Russia, Ukraine. Russia has banned export of wheat. The wheat spring planting season is like now, this week. And there's not a lot of planting going on. So not only is the current wheat supply in Russia, Ukraine blocked up and cannot make its way to countries in Africa and elsewhere, but the future planting season is now significantly at risk. And again, that's 15% of global calories. And just to take a step back, the whole planet Earth operates on a 90-day food supply. Once we stop making food, humans run out of food in 90 days. And that's not just linearly across all nations. What happens is the most vulnerable nations lose their food supply first, and the richer nations buy that food supply to secure their population calories. And so you very quickly see a bifurcation happen where suddenly famine is a real risk. And we already have about 800 million people on Earth that are subsisting on below 1,200 calories a day. So this very quickly tips the bucket in a significant way in a number of countries that's going to be really awful. And that's just on the wheat supply and wheat planting problem. Fertilizer is made up of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. Those are the three major types of fertilizer that farmers around the world have to use every year in order to grow that crop. Nitrogen is made from natural gas. 98% of the world's ammonia is made from natural gas. Natural gas prices, as you guys know, have doubled, and the futures market looks like in some places natural gas prices going up like 4x. As a result, the price of ammonia fertilizer, nitrogen-based fertilizer, has gone from $200 a ton to $1,000 a ton. So it's 5 times as expensive to buy basic ammonia fertilizer today than it was a few weeks ago or a few months ago. About 10% of the world's phosphate comes out of Russia. 25% of the world's potassium comes out of Russia, potash. Both of those markets are blocked up. They are sanctioned and they have banned exports. Russia has through the rest of 2022. And as a result, the price of potassium's gone from 200 to 700, and the price of phosphorus has gone from 250 to 700. So now it's so expensive to grow a crop that a lot of farmers around the world are pulling acres out of production. And they're actually going to grow less this year than they would have otherwise because it is so expensive and they cannot access fertilizer locally to plant crops.
And coming in from the Wall Street Journal, fertilizer prices surge as Ukraine war cuts supply, leaving farmers shocked. Smaller harvests loom from Argentina to Indonesia, and developing countries are bracing for higher food costs. It's like a scary movie. In his 9 years selling fertilizer to corn and rice farmers in West Africa, Malik Niang says he has never seen such a severe supply crunch or such high prices. Since Russia invaded Ukraine, shipping companies have avoided docking at St. Petersburg, Russia, to collect goods, Mr. Niang said. That, together with the impact of the West's financial sanctions against Moscow, means fertilizer exports from Russia, the world's largest producer, have fallen sharply. Mr. Niang contacted sellers elsewhere, such as in Senegal and Morocco, but was told their order books are full until the end of the year. Maybe we'll find 1 or 2 options different from Russia, but it's going to be very expensive, he said. Fertilizer prices were already high before the war. They have now reached record levels amid a precipitous drop in Russian supply, according to CRU Group, which analyzes commodity markets. At the same time, more expensive natural gas, another Russian export, and a crucial ingredient in fertilizer making, has led European fertilizer factories to scale back production. The result is that fertilizer is about 3 to 4 times costlier now than in 2020, with far-reaching consequences for farmers' incomes, agricultural yields, and food prices. In Indonesia's East Java province, corn farmer Nuhadi, who goes by one name, has bought half his usual fertilizer stock, relying instead on animal dung, which isn't as effective and will result, he said, in a substantially reduced yield. In Colombia, which depends on Russia for 1/5 of its fertilizer imports, potato farmer Ana Elvira Sanabria has switched to raising cattle and growing a local fruit called Yuchuva, probably botched that, which needs less fertilizer. Last year at this time, most of us had land ready to plant, she said. This year, much of it is fallow. Farmers' struggles began before the war. Higher energy costs last year pushed up fertilizer prices, as did new curbs and export licensing requirements by China, Turkey, Egypt, and Russia. Faustin Lahouri Bitra, a farmer who grows seeds for other planters in Ivory Coast, said he watched with horror as the price of urea fertilizer quadrupled over the past 9 months. It's like a scary movie, he said. Smaller harvests will hit developing countries the hardest, forcing their cash-strapped governments to import large quantities of staples such as wheat at high prices, agricultural experts say. Global food prices in February touched their highest point since the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization began collecting monthly data 3 decades ago. Food insecurity is likely to worsen. The Global Network Against Food Crisis, an alliance of humanitarian and development groups, estimates that by last September, 161 million people across 42 nations in 2021 faced acute malnutrition and were forced to sell assets or take other desperate measures to procure food, up 19% from the start of the year. I'm deeply concerned with the violent conflict in Ukraine, already a catastrophe for those directly involved, will also be a tragedy for the world's poorest people living in rural areas who cannot absorb the price hikes of stable foods and farming inputs that will result from disruptions to global trade, said Gilbert Hunbo, president of the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development last week. The disruption in wheat supply from Ukraine could have been a boon for some of the world's major food exporters, among them Argentina, and farmers such as Gabriel Palizon. Instead, Mr. Palizon, who grows wheat, corn, and soybeans on about 3,700 acres in Argentina's central Cordoba province, said he is likely to slash production about 30%. Omar Bacheta, a farmer in the country's Santa Fe province, said he is cutting back on fertilizer. Urea now costs $1,400 a tonne, up from $800 last year and $500 the year before. Mr. Bacheta said the reduction in the sowing of wheat is going to be considerable this year, he said. Fertilizer producers are warning of continuing shortages. After Russia's invasion sent European natural gas prices to record levels, many companies reduced production of ammonia, which is used to make nitrogen fertilizers. Although prices of European natural gas futures have fallen since early March, they remain roughly 40% higher than they were before the invasion of Ukraine. Borealis AG, a large European fertilizer maker, said this month it is running its ammonia plants at reduced capacity. Nitro, I'll let my Hungarian friends pronounce that for me. A Hungarian producer said it is temporarily halting ammonia production. Norway-based Yara International, one of the world's largest fertilizer producers, said in early March that it would limit production at plants in France and Italy, bringing down its European ammonia and urea production to around 45% of capacity. Our concern over the coming season is that nations already in a vulnerable position will face deteriorating conditions, in particular and dependent on net imports of both food and fertilizers, said Yara spokeswoman Kristen Nordell. Even if natural gas were to become less costly, rebooting ammonia plants is expensive, said Tony Will, chief executive and president of CF Industries Holdings Incorporated, a nitrogen fertilizer manufacturer based in Deerfield, Illinois. The company has kept one of its UK plants shut since September. We need to have a window that looks like we can operate it for at least 3 to 6 months profitably. Otherwise, it's really hard to begin the startup process, Mr. Will said. We don't see the window as a likelihood at the moment. So I did this video, Crisis Investing Gold and Silver, where I discussed Doug Casey's awesome book, Crisis Investing, for the rest of the 90s. Now, he did one that he wrote in 79, I think, from memory. So this was his more revised and updated version. And Brent Johnson from Santiago Capital just tweeted this. This is Jim Rogers' book, Hot Commodities, How Anyone Can Invest Profitably in the World's Best Market. And I read this a long time ago, and guess what? I just reread it earlier this year. And Brent tweets this and says everything that Jim Rogers wrote in Hot Commodities 15 years ago is now coming true. He was early, really early. So early that some said he had lost his touch, but many would now do well to read it and internalize it. Wow. I am so glad someone has come out and said this, because this is what I've been thinking for really the last 12 months. And what has Jim been saying really for the last 12 or 18 months now is buy agriculture, buy agricultural commodities, buy a farm, grow your own food. He's been warning for pretty much the last 2 years nearly. And on the 7th of January, I did this video, Prepare for Famine and Starvation. And look, I got criticised for this. People saying, oh, you're scaremongering. Well, guys, I just share my opinion, what I honestly see and what I'm honestly doing. When I'm buying gold and silver, and when I say I'm buying agriculture, and when I say I see inflation, when I see food shortages and prepare for famine and starvation, I'm not joking. So where did all my thoughts come from? Well, I did this video on the 30th of December. This was my 2022 predictions. Inflation 15% and silver boom in 2022. However, one of the very first commodities that I mentioned in this video to buy is agriculture. Agriculture was the first commodity that I mentioned to buy. And, well, I think we're going to have a big problem. And back on October 26, I did this video, Global Elites Destroying the Economy. And I was warning about food shortages back in this video. I warned about all this, that would see high energy, would see energy shortages, leading to food shortages. And this was before any of this whole Russia-Ukraine situation happened. And then on the 20th of August in 2021, I did this video. I actually shot this video on location. I was actually up in the mountains looking at some farmland. And at the end of this video, I actually did a selfie with me out in the farms looking at farmland. And I was warning. So yeah, I was preaching about gold, silver, commodities, real assets and inflation and all that sort of stuff, which I've been banging on about on this channel. But in this video, I said the one thing that I haven't yet got is farmland, and that was what I was looking at buying. In fact, in September 2019, I just missed out on buying a farm. Had I known what the property market would have done since then, I would have paid more for it, or I would have offered more for it and bought the damn thing. But I warned back then. And then 3 days later, on the 23rd of August, I did this video, The New World Order is Coming. And some people have asked why I have been able to predict some of these things, or why do I think these things are going to happen. And in this video, I actually discuss what was happening, the economic signs that are happening today, and the economic signs in Bible prophecy. Yes, I'm a student of the Bible, and when I look at Bible prophecy and I see what's happening today, it is quite eerie. And so, I urge people to go watch this if you haven't. In fact, a lot of these videos that I just shared haven't got many views on these ones at all. But I do believe that that Bible prophecy is playing out and is going to play out, and there's nothing we can do about it. We cannot change the fact. It is going to happen, in my opinion, as a Bible-believing Christian. I believe these things are going to happen, and that we should prepare as best we can for it. And, once again, I've just got to be honest with you guys on this channel. I've got to share with you guys what I believe is happening and what's going to happen and how I'm preparing. And so, yes, moving out of the cities onto some farmland is part of this. Because Bible prophecy tells me that living in the cities in the last days is not going to be much fun, to say the least. So, look, I'll put a link in the description to all these videos. Look, this is probably my most important video I've ever done on this channel. It's a long video. It goes for over 40 minutes. It was probably the most important video I've done on this channel. Look, a lot of you probably aren't believers or of different faiths and whatnot, and that's fine. That's fine. I just have to be honest. I have to be honest. I have to share my honest opinion with you guys. Anyway, what do you guys think? Are you guys covered? How are you with your food preparation? If we do see food shortages and the supermarkets have no food, are you prepared? Are you prepared for that? Love to see your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Really do appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, do so. Hit that notification bell. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all again on another episode of Finance Uncut.